Oh, hi there, Pterodactyl here. Just wiping the dust off this thing. I know it's been a couple of months since the last episode, or the last part. Now we're on part 4, the electrical part. So I just wiping all the dust off because it's been sitting for a couple of months. So yeah, got all the electric hooked up. Headlight, tail light, electric start, kill switch. There's electric start again. Kill switch, horn. Woo! Bet you never seen no Baja Mini Bike like this, and if you had, let me know about it. But I think this is a one of a kind. With headlight, tail light, electric start, and a horn. So let's go over the electrical and what I did in case you want to do the same thing to yours. Okay, where to start, where to start, where to start? What should we start with first? Alright, let's start with this control first, which is what I took off a motorcycle. It was like a Honda CB350. Because it's got everything in this one control that I need. It's got the on-off switch, it's got the headlight switch, it's got my electric start switch, it's got a lever, brake lever with a switch in it for the brake light, and it's got a mount for the mirror. So I thought, why not use that motorcycle control and the throttle, of course, all in one. So what I did is I got this control, and because on a Honda the kill switch works the opposite. Like on a Honda motorcycle, this is on, and these positions are off. So what I did was I blocked it off. I put a little some putty in there to fill in where it said off, and made the on the off. That's why I did it in red, because it works the opposite on a motorcycle than it does on this mini bike to kill the motor. And then the headlight was low and high. So I did the same thing. I took some putty, some epoxy putty, and I blocked off the high and I filled in the H. Now the L stands for light, because this doesn't have a high beam, it's just got a low beam. Now if you got a motorcycle with a high beam, or you're gonna build a mini bike with a low beam and a high beam, just use those extra wires out of there and you can have a low beam and high beam. But I just eliminated mine. And because this start button is just a single wire button, and how it works is when you touch ground it makes a connection. You have to use a relay in order to make this work, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Look at that, Baja Mini Bike with a tail light. Anybody got one like this? I don't think so. If you do, send me a picture of it. And brake light. I could ride this on the street legal-like if I had a license plate. Now I got this light off of eBay. It was like $13, $14. LED, brake light, tail light for a Sportster. And it fit perfect in the ridge of here. They also have one with turn signals. So if you want to take it a step further and put turn signals on your mini bike, you can. You can one-up Taryl. So what I did is, I took that Baja Mini Bike and I cut this much out of the fender so I can move it, you know, because this fender went all the way down to here. I can move it up, and then I mounted that tail light in there. Don't that look sweet? That looks nice in there, don't it? Woo! Baja Mini Bike with a horn. Who's got a Baja Mini Bike with a horn? Taryl does. Here's the horn. I mounted it here. Got this off of eBay too. It was like $14, and it's in the blue that I'm doing the rest of the bike in. All right, when I was building this, I'm like, where am I going to mount all these electrical components? Well, good thing there was enough room under the gas tank to put all this. So I made me a battery box. And then I mounted the cube relay, and that cube relay is just for the electric start. That's just for that single wire start button. And then on the other side, I had to have a solenoid, but I had to have one small enough. And so this is for a Honda engine, like an 8-horse electric start motor. It's a typical Honda relay. They make it aftermarket cheap. The Honda one's about $50-some. You can find these on eBay too. This solenoid. It's a grounded solenoid. It has to be grounded. Single wire, trigger wire, and then from your battery to your starter connections. And then you got to have a fuse. Now the relay and the fuse, I robbed off a junk lawn tractor because I got a lawnmower shop, so I can do that. And the battery strap, here is from a lawn tractor. And I incorporated it into this battery box. Now this battery is a glass mat battery. And I think I paid about $25 for this. It's 190 cranking amps. STZ 10S. It's got plenty of power to crank this motor over. I use one of these batteries and it can crank over one of them opposed twin Briggs motors. Because listen, it's cranking that 10-horse Tecumseh over no problem. So let me talk about how I wired all this up. Alright, let's start with here. I went through the wires from the control and I eliminated the ones that I didn't need for the high beam. So, this is the yellow wire, is for this electric start button. The brown and the white are for the headlight and the tail light. And this black wire is the power coming in for the headlight and tail light. And then these other two wires, the one with the white tracer and the single black, is for the kill switch. And then of course you got these other two wires here. Mr. Cameraman, maybe you can get over here. These are for the brake light. These are the brake light switch. Now, this Baja Mini Bike is the original handle that was on this side. It's got the hole in it for a brake light switch. So you can find a... Uh-oh, sounds like money. Hey, answer that phone, Junior. All right. This has got the hole for a brake light switch. So if you can get a hold of a Honda brake light switch, you could shove it into here. In case you have no access to this and you want to put a brake light on. All you'll have is your two wires coming out and you can wire it into the system. All right. So you got to have a fuse. So I robbed the fuse off a junk tractor. Power coming in, this is your power coming out. Now the fuse I found had two wires coming out, so I thought I'd use that one. One wire right to the battery. The other wire comes out and it's going to feed your different things you're going to power. So since this one had two wires coming out, this is the wire that powers the headlight. And the other wire that comes out is powering that cube relay. This is power going back to the cube relay, and it's also powering the horn. Because I got a typical switch where power is going up to the horn, and when we push the horn button, it's sending power to the horn. That's this blue wire. And then the other wire is ground off the horn. So all I did was make a little jumper going right to the horn. Grounded it right to the horn itself. And then up here, remember I said brown wire? Here's the brown wire from the handlebars going to, it had a brown wire that was going to the headlight on the Baja, so I used it. And the green wire coming out of the headlight goes to ground. That's where all my grounds are, over here. And then the white one was for the tail light. So notice I got the white one tied in with this black one. This black one is the one that's going back to the brake light switch. And then on this side, this one's marked tail light, because it's going to the tail light. And the green one is the brake light switch. So this is the other black wire coming off the brake light switch. I'm hoping this is all making sense to you. And then the third wire off the tail light is a ground again. That's the black wire. And then over here, got my red wire that's coming off the voltage regulator, which is going to charge the battery. So I just put that to the other end of the battery wire going to the solenoid. You could tie it to the battery, to the solenoid, or to the battery itself. But since I already had two wires going to here, I figured I'd just put one on the other end. And then this is our trigger wire that's coming off that cube relay. So when I push that button, that relay shifts and sends 12 volts to here, makes a connection across the solenoid, spins the starter. Because here's the other heavy wire coming off the solenoid going to the starter. So we're going to go over to the bench, and then I'm going to show you how to wire in that relay. I got me a relay here. Some call it a cube relay. Some just call it a relay. Robbed it off junk tractor. That's what's good about having junk lawnmowers laying around. You can use a lot of parts, repurpose the parts. So here's a cube relay that I used for the electric start button. And then I use the plug too, because that's nice. So in case I ever have to replace the relay, I don't have to figure out where all the wires go if I individually wire it, because they're all in this plug. So on the bottom of this plug are numbers. You have to look real close. You're not going to see it on camera. You're going to have to look with a magnifying glass, but there's numbers under here. And here's the numbers you're going to use on the relay. You're not going to use all 5 of these. You're going to use 4. All right, here's a little diagram I drew. Power, this is from the battery. This is your 12 volts. Whether it's coming off a key switch, if you want to wire in a key switch for safety, so nobody steals your mini bike, or in my case, I just came right from battery power off the fuse. This is power off the fuse. We want to go to 30 and then jumper to 85. That's your main power for the relay. This is that starter button. This is the push button on the handlebar. Because when you push the button, it makes a connection that goes to ground. It grounds through the case of the handlebar. That's how it grounds. That yellow wire that I told you that came off the button, that goes to 86. Number 87 is that purple wire I showed you that comes off the solenoid. That's that trigger wire. So if you wire it this way, you hit that start button, it's going to work. Say you want to use a horn. You're using a single wire button off a horn from a motorcycle. You do it the same way, except instead of running 87 to the solenoid, you're running 87 to the horn. And then you still make that little jumper wire like I did on the horn. So you can power a horn that way too, or whatever device you want to power that uses that type of button that only has one wire and then it grounds. Hope that makes sense to you. Now let's move on to the plug. Say you want to take these terminals out like I did to give it a cleaner look. See how it's got a little hump up here? That's so you can get a tool like this. Now I got a set of tools for removing these terminals. You can make one. All you got to do is have something thin and flat enough to fit in there. And then you bend it down a little bit and you can pull it out. Because what you're doing is you're bending this little tab out of the way. And then say you want to use this wire over again, you just bend the tab back up so it locks in. And then when you shove it back in there, you know, see how it is? It's got that little notch. You want to make sure that goes like that. You can hear it click in. See, and then it locks in. And then you want to take it out, you just bend the little tab down. That's up to you. Or you could just leave the wires hang like this and just strip them back and make a connection somehow. Now there's a couple ways you can make a connection. You can buy these butt connectors where you just crimp, you know, strip the wires back and just crimp this on. Or if you want to make a neat, cleaner connection, you could do it this way. I do it this way too. Get a piece of heat shrink tubing, put it over the wire first, strip your wires back, strip it back far enough where you can twist it real good, and then get yourself one of these. This is like having another set of hands. I think Harbor Freight's got these. It's even got a little magnifying glass and a soldering gun. And the way to solder, in case you don't know, maybe some people know how to solder. You want to heat the wire up first. I test it by squeezing the trigger. And once it starts melting the solder, I know it's hot enough. So you just hold it on the wire. And you want the wire to get hot. And when the wire gets hot enough, the solder will melt in on its own. Hold it on there for a minute, make sure it cooks in there, gets in all them little nooks and crannies. Then you gotta let it dry or cool off. Good soldered connection. Then take your heat shrink tubing and slide it over that connection you made, and then take your heat gun and heat it up. Oh, there's money coming in. Junior, go see who that is. Isn't that nice? That makes a nice, that's better than just wrapping tape around there. It gives it a nice, cleaner, professional look. And you can get this heat shrink tubing at Harbor Freight. They have it there. You can buy it online. They have it on a roll even. You can buy different sizes on a roll. But that gives it a nice, cleaner look and a strong connection than using a butt connector. Since we're talking about heat shrink tubing, you might want to get the stuff on the roll, because like I did on this horn, this is heat shrink tubing. I just put a big long section on there, so when I strap this to the handlebars, you know, it'll look nice and neat. Now, I left these wires all hanging like this for the video. I'm going to tidy these all up. But it's hard to explain to you how the wiring works if they're all encased. So I'm going to tidy them all up. And I also put heat shrink on this here brake light one too. Brake light switch. I put a little heat shrink on there. I'm going to wrap these in something else. That's another thing. That's what's nice about junk lawnmowers and stuff. They have this stuff on there. This is for wires. They make this in all different sizes. So it's good to take these things off of junk lawnmowers when you find them. There's lots of good parts on the junk lawnmower. Wires and all kind of stuff. And then connectors. Let's talk about connectors. Alright, you can buy these connectors individually to crimp on. So if you want to give it a cleaner look, color code your wires so you know where everything goes, instead of just using white and yellow and stuff that came with it. You can buy these, crimp them on your wires, and then plug them into this socket. You can find them on the internet. You can find them at big box stores, hardware stores. You know, they got these pull aparts, different kinds, insulated, non-insulated. See, there's no insulation on there. Male, female, so you can plug them into each other. This would be okay for a ground because you don't care if it touches other metal, but these are the insulated ones. So they make a nice connection. Butt connectors, bullet connectors. I don't have any females, but You know, they make a male and female so you can plug it in and then unplug it. That's why I use a lot of connectors on the Baja, because when I go to take it apart to paint it, I can pull all the wires apart. And then when I go to put it back together, I can plug them in. So I kind of color-coded the wires so that way when I put it back together, everything will plug in. So remember that when you're doing it, when you're building your project. Build it like you're building it like in a factory. Now I know there wasn't too many funny shenanigans going on in this part of the video. That's because we were covering electrical, and electrical needs to be taken seriously. Alright, let's fire this baby up and go for a ride. Choke it. Choker. Lights on.